This is WWE Hall of Famer Tito Santana, and you are watching When It Was Real with noted wrestling historian, author, actor, and wrestling manager Nikita Bresnikov, and pro wrestling author and podcaster Benny Scala, found only on the Player Entertainment Network. Arriba!
Love that intro.
Arriba.
Well, good evening, folks, and welcome back to When It Was Real, that show that goes back to that magical time when professional wrestling was very real to us. I am Benny Scala, a.k.a. The Player, and with me is the main event noted wrestling historian, author, actor, and wrestling manager, Nikita Brezhnikov. Nikita, how are you, my friend?
I've said it on my Facebook page. I'm crazy excited for tonight because we've got the one and only Dr. Frank Romascavage, WWE doctor, Pennsylvania State Athletic Commission doctor, and one of the greatest people I've ever known in my entire 67 years. Frank, welcome to the show.
You know what, Nikita, Benny, listen, it's a real pleasure to come on air with you guys. You know what I mean? It's a real pleasure, and thank you very, very, very much for the opportunity. We're going to have a great conference, wide open, ask whatever you want. Anything I can tell you about everything about my wrestling career as a physician for WWF, okay? And any questions you like, just put them out there. We'll go over it.
All right.
All right. Well, we're going to toast
our toast, right? Let's toast Dr. Frank.
Our toast.
Dr. Frank for all the years that you've
Absolutely. I like that.
Not just wrestling, but the personal as well. You took care of.
God bless you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
All righty.
That hypocritical oath, they were thinking of you, Frank, when they did it.
I love it. Whatever.
All right. Now, Dr. Frank, you have the floor. Please tell us about how Dr. Frank entered that world of pro wrestling.
Absolutely. Listen. Right now I'm a general practitioner in northeastern Pennsylvania. I've been here for 41 years, totally not owned, totally independent. Whereby I'm a solo practitioner right now, and what I basically do is I'm the only physician in my, I should say, multi-mile area that is not owned by a corporation. So in other words, I work for my patients, the people. Okay, I make my house calls, I barter with my patients, and I treat a lot of people who don't have a pot to pee in, and I make sure they have a good day. I always tell them, you bleed red, so do I. So let's make this a better day. And we do that, okay? So people always ask me, well, I've been here since 1984, okay? And throughout my time period, okay, as a physician, I used to be an ER guy outside Philly, okay? And then I came up to originally from here in northeastern Pennsylvania. I came up here in 1984, okay, where I opened as a private solo practitioner. And since that time period, okay, you do the basic things as a doctor, you treat people, whatever. But as an ex-athlete, I always said to myself, well, listen, I feel like I got to do something athletically. Okay, so what I did is I got enrolled into, believe it or not, I got a phone call from the state commission to do amateur boxing. So I did amateur boxing, and amateur boxing throughout the period of time of the years developed into professional boxing, where I excelled at and did very well. I've been on TV many times, USA, ESPN, Michael Buffer announced me in the pro boxing shows, whatever. And as a result of what everything I went for and did, I became a avid member of amateur boxing, where I excelled to the point that they asked me to really seriously contemplate about becoming the Olympic Golden Gloves boxer.
Wow.
Go to Colorado. Okay. So everything's all set up to do that. So in a period of about 2 weeks, I had to decide what I want to do with that nice offer. So bottom line of it is the fact that I get a call from the state commission in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And they said to me, Frank, do you like boxing? Do you like wrestling? I said, what do you mean? High school wrestling? What are you talking about? No, they said the guys on TV, that type of wrestling. I said, I freaking love that wrestling. What do you mean? We need a physician. And in the state of Pennsylvania, you need a physician at all wrestling events. Okay. I said, I've never done a wrestling show. I love it. But what do I got to do? He says, just go there, bring your bag. And, the whole 9 yards as an ER physician would be proposed to do. So anyway, I go there and I meet backstage. And I see guys like Arnold Skolin, the Wild Samoans. I see all the guys like, oh my God, Yokozuna, Diesel, Shawn Michaels. I see Tony Garea. I'm like in the Field of Dreams type moment. I said, "Oh my God!" I said, "I can't believe this." And you guys saw the movie Field of Dreams, right?
Yes.
My absolute favorite movie ever.
He walks on the baseball field and says, "Oh my God, look at those guys!" And those guys were right there, and I'm just mesmerized by the event. So I just stand there, and the whole night goes through, and everything turns out really good. And I come home to my wife and kids, and I says, "I can't believe I had one of those moments where I'm supposed to do this, like Field of Dreams." So I pursued it, and eventually event led to event led to event, okay? Whereby I did more and more things with the State Athletic Commission, but through the events of time from 1993, and I was with WWF since to 93 to 2005, so it's about 13 years I was with them for like to do the physicals for all the guys, and make sure everybody was kosher from going from state to state. And that's what the McMahons did. And everybody asked me, how were the McMahons? I said, McMahons always treat us fine. They'd send a limo there, but we'd go down to Jersey, fly us out to Newark Airport, and we go all over the country, Canada, and and I had offers to go abroad too as a physician with them. But so I always give them the best accolade of possible, and it's only the best. They treat us like gold, no questions about it. So throughout the time period, everything went nicely and everything like that until the time point said I was doing everything to get these guys approved. So they would fly me to the events. We would do EKGs. We would draw their blood. We would do complete physicals. And then we do all the paperwork, okay, to keep these guys legitimate so that where they go across state lines, they were legitimate to wrestle there. Okay. So that's what we did. And it turned out to be one heck of a great, fruitful adventure, to give you a final synopsis on that.
Now, Frank, I want the viewers to understand one thing. They think you walk in the door and they say you're a wrestler and you can go behind the curtain and go out there to the ring. But you must be approved to actually wrestle for that night, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
The State Athletic Commission will not let you out unless the doctor says so.
Nikita, you're 100% right. As a physician, okay, like I said before, I originally was an ER doc, so I've seen and done everything, okay, from a medical point of view. But what's really important here is the fact that to be a wrestler, the whole persona of a wrestler is just not, you have to have the look. You have to be able to do the talk. You got to be able to do the walk. You got to be athletically in good shape, and you have to be able to enunciate and be able to talk on the mic. Okay. And if you can't do that, you have to do them all. And it's a very select group of people that it does, but you have to be in great shape to go out to that ring. You have to be good. So that requires physical examinations. That requires blood testing. And if there's any issues on like that, appropriate, referrals are made so that you get everything checked out appropriately.
Dr. Frank, how extensive is the examination though? Is it just, heart rate, blood pressure?
See, most of the guys. See, I was with a lot of these guys for 13 years, so I got to know a lot of these guys medically, as well as being, the friendships and the social points of view. But you get to know a lot of these guys medically. So, in other words, what you do is you on the basic events, you basically get the history like anybody else, that established patient type attitude. You get to say, well, I know this person. You know what I mean? You vibe it. So you do the blood pressure, you do the heart, you do the lungs, you take a look at them, you talk to them one-on-one, and you don't make an obstacle of it, but you evaluate and see how they are medically for that appropriate night.
Well, Frank, I remember, because it's coming up on 30 years, September the 20th, 1998, we finished a show in Philly for a Viles, and Nikolai said, come on, we're going to go see Dr. Frank.
Huh?
Said, okay, so up we go to the Poconos. And you guys ran us through the gambit.
Absolutely.
For our licenses. And you told me, Frank, you said, I got to tell you, it's not a big deal, but you do have a heart murmur. I have to advise you of that. And it's like, what does that mean, Frank? Can I still work? And it's like, yeah, it's no problem. Just, keep an eye on things. And you've always been top rate.
Go ahead. It's straight. You see, I treat the guys. Okay, I've been around a lot of celebrities in my lifetime. Okay, but I tell you what, you treat everybody the same. Give them the best. Give them the best, and say, listen, you might not like what I hear, but I'm going to tell you the truth, what you need to know, and get an evaluate. And you tell them what the whole process is, whatever, and it always turns out good. But the bottom line of it is, you have to be sincere, and you got to be right to the point about how it has to be done and evaluated.
Absolutely, Benny. You have the photos, right?
I do, yeah.
Okay, yeah. We'll run them in a second, because when he said famous people, well, the first one that comes to mind, Frank, because you used to have a party every
year. Yep.
My God, and one year. Go ahead, Benny. Do you have the one with
Was
Paulie?
that
There
the
you
one-
go.
Yeah.
Paul Sorvino's there, and I'm like, holy shit,
Yeah.
are you kidding me?
Absolutely.
And it was like, he was a cool guy, and he's a sheriff up there.
Yeah.
Well, he was.
Well,
Was he really?
Yeah. Paul. Well, Paul passed. He passed. A couple of years ago. Rest in peace to him. But there's and look, you see Nikolai. Rest in peace to him too. But there was just so many. Just so many guys like that. And we used to have these wild. I shouldn't say wild, but they were very well orchestrated parties, and where we had band. And I have a big 5-acre area behind my practice back here, and we'd play bands out in the woods, and they would choreograph band music, live music, choreographed it down the road, and tons of food. And we'd have a wrestling ring set up where we'd have guys that would come and wrestle and give people a one-on-one event, which was just incredible. I used to invite about maybe 200-300 people, and everybody left with a lot of food. They met a lot of people, and everybody it was just a great time. Yeah, you're right, John. You're right, Nikita.
It was fun. I mean, a guy like Paul Sorvino,
he
was just like talking to your neighbor.
Absolutely.
He didn't act like he was big king or anything. He was just easygoing guy, because being with you, he knew it was just like, you're going to treat people like you want to be treated. And it was nice and easy. And I didn't realize this. I've been watching some of the reruns of Law and Order. He had a great voice. He was an opera singer.
Absolutely. He was an opera singer. Yeah. Paul was a very intelligent man. Okay. Very intelligent man and very articulate man. And multitasked many things, but we miss him. He was a good guy.
He was very diverse. My favorite Paul Sorvino role was he played in Oh God, and
That's
he
right.
played the preacher, and God sent him to me. I mean, he was just so good as that preacher.
Benny, you're so right on. You're absolutely right. You got that right.
Perfect.
But he was that good. He was that good. Okay. And like I said before, he died too young. He was a good man, and his family, I knew his kids, I know his kids are around and all that, but Paul was the main event. No question about it.
I had no idea until I read it recently that he actually got out of his Law and Order contract because he thought it was affecting his vocal cords, because he wanted to do the opera, and he performed at the Met. Isn't that right?
Yeah, that's true. That's so true. He would sing. I've already heard him do it, my little own private rendition. Okay, like in my office type thing. And he was, what can you say? Second to none. That man could sing. He was very good singer. No question about it.
And we knew the man with the 56-inch chest. He could belt them out there too. He wasn't too shabby himself.
Not at all, Nikita. Not at all. You're 100% right on that too. Absolutely.
I listen to Caramia at least once a month.
Oh my God,
his version. I love it.
I love it. Caramia,
He said, "My God." He said, "They made me do that fucking thing 70 times." He said, "I counted 70 times." And they say, "You go do it one more time." He's like, "Motherfucker, okay, I do it."
I had never heard it. I thought it was a joke. I thought it was. I think like when I first listened, it was like, "There's no way that's Nikita or Nikolai rather."
Right.
And it's like, whoa, it was mind blowing.
You know a good story, Nikita, and I'll tell you something. Let me tell you something, Benny. A good thing was a good old fashioned story. I'm a farm kid by design, okay? And what happened is, so is Nikolai. God rest in peace to him. I miss him tremendously. But anyway, he wanted to know how to can tomatoes the old fashioned way. I says, that's a piece of cake. You want to learn? You come to my office. You come to my house. We'll start at 7 a.m, and off we go. So he spent the night here. Okay. And I showed him the old fashioned way, Nikita. And I'll tell you something, Benny, and he learned, he said, oh my God. I said, it's that easy. So that's a famous Nikolai story with myself I pass on. But he was, what a great guy. Great guy. I mean, what a good person.
And Frank, you're right, because he had a farm. That was his wife's and his wife's family for years, but he loved it because she would go away every year. They had a timeshare with the Grand Floridian. Soon as she would leave, he'd turn off the heat, and he was in heaven. He just loved it. He got goats.
Yeah.
They had, Frank, you came there. You surprised us that year for Thanksgiving. We had a second Thanksgiving. How many cats? 30 cats, right?
I know he did. He had all over the place. You know what I mean? He had a fetish for cats, and that's okay. That's good.
Dogs. It's like
he liked it.
Everything.
but he was quite an individual. He'll never be replaced. He was that type of guy. He was a
No.
beautiful man. Good
And
man,
people, sometimes somebody doesn't like you for one reason or another. I that never heard a bad word about Nikolai Volkov.
never
Just
did.
beautiful.
No, he wouldn't hurt a fly. And he was very, very, very pro patient, very, very pro fan. See, and that's what he never forgot that. And that's what
Now, Frank,
yeah, that's
you got the gloves on there because that was at the Great Allentown Fair. It was August 29th of 2003. And right over Frank's head,
look at I love that picture. I love that picture.
Yeah.
My God, that picture. I said, who the hell is that guy in the middle? That's me. You know what I mean? I love it. That's a great picture. And Nikita, I didn't know you had that, but that's a great
Frank, I'll
picture.
send you another one. Believe me.
Put it up.
I
love it. That's awesome. That's a really good shot.
We were dying from the heat that night, but Dr. Frank was there, and we were just couldn't be any happier. And
I want to
the kids were there, Stacy and Frank Jr. So they were all, and Benny was telling me, he's like, wow, Dr. Frank's children, they're really, they're astute. I said, oh, let me tell you something. Stacy, with what she's doing, she's Stacy's chicken coop. I want to get it right.
Yeah, she's doing selling biscuits now. She just got involved with a couple of big corporations to go nationwide now. Okay, so she's going to be, she's busy as heck doing that, and she does a lot of like detail and sewing for sororities across the countries and fraternities. So the colleges bug her for that. So she, stays active. I tell you what, best thing for people: stay active, and stay astute, because you have to stay in that type of demeanor, mental demeanor, and you'll be surprised how much feel you better and how much longer you'll live. And that's a secret. It's a big secret to life.
Frank, you're so right, because I see pictures of guys I used to work with years ago. I've been retired from the police now about, I can tell you exactly, 19 years. But when I see some of the pictures of the other guys younger, it's like, what the hell happened to you?
Yeah, you're right.
It's like lard, after a while it just hardens. And
absolutely. You're absolutely right on. You're absolutely right on the money. But I'll tell you something. But wrestling, I started, like I said, in '93. And then a lot of people come up to me and they'll say, well, when was your first big experience with WWF?
Good.
Okay, people ask me that question. They say, well, when's your first really interaction besides somebody getting a strained knee or hurt their neck or something like that? I said, the first really, really big interaction happened in 1994. And it would happen to Razor Ramon. Okay, I was at a house show. Back then, a couple years ago, they had house shows. And what happened is it was Kevin Nash going against, Razor Ramon. So anyway, they're Diesel, a.k.a. Diesel, obviously. So anyway, they were having a one-on-one match at a house show. And it was for the belt. So now I'm there at the event. It was a house show, I think maybe somewhere in Pennsylvania. I think whatever. The exact location I tend to forget. But anyway, the bottom line of it is the fact that Diesel took the belt as he pulled it and strode it and hit his mustache from one end to the other, parallel to the length of his mustache, and he had a nice laceration throughout his whole mustache.
Yeah.
Now the guy's bleeding, and you guys, I'm sure the audience knows too, that Razor Ramon's signature was besides the toothpick, was his mustache. Now, you get a hold of yourself. Now, put yourself in his position. He's bleeding out his face, okay? Kevin Nash is really looking, obviously concerned. Okay. And there's me. Okay. He doesn't know me. Okay. I never met Scott Hall until that night, actually. Okay. And Scott Hall looks at me and I said, listen, I'll tell you what. I said, listen, I've published medical articles on how to sew mustaches and beards up. I guarantee you that you won't even know that you were worked on by me. And you won't. And I've already published medical articles on this topic. Okay, I'm printed. Okay, I've already been printed up on these articles. So anyway, bottom line of it is I said, you won't even notice that I sewed you up, and you won't lose one hair. Now, suppose somebody told that to you, and you're in his shoes, and you don't know me, and I don't have any reputation there. Like, oh well, go to Frank, he'll help you out. So anyway, he lays down, he lays on top of the table, right? And make a long story short, is Kevin Nash is looking over my right shoulder every inch of the way, right? And I love it, right? So I think I had Frank there, my son, holding the light so I could sew the guy up. I said, listen, I said, Scott, just bear with it. You won't miss one hair, and I guarantee you'll be fine. Now he's bleeding out of his face, and you can see everything's apart, whatever. So I saw him. I forget what I put in, like 10 stitches, right? I match exactly his hair color to the mustache, okay? Because I always carry different colorations of my sutures, right? So I match his hair color, right? Whatever. So I get him all done. He says, "Give me a mirror. Give me a mirror." You know, that's your first response. I said, "You won't lose one hair." So he puts the mirror. He says, "Wait a minute. What'd you do?" I said, I told you my way. The way I did, right? So anyway, make a long story short is he goes for some photo ops, and the guys that were like saying to him, he says, "Wait a minute, what happened to you? You're not bleeding now. What happened?" So I got a lot of merit on that point of view, right? So throughout the years, Scott Hall and I became very good friends. Okay, very good friends. And if you see in my office, like I said before, like outfits, whatever, Scott Hall gave me his complete Razor Ramon outfit. He says, you have the only one out there is the one I'm giving you right now. You have the only one. So he signed, I said, really? He gave it to me like about 6 months later. Okay. And he said to me, I want to give you something. And I said, oh my God. So anyway, lo and behold, throughout the years, we became very good friends. Okay. And rest in peace to him. He was really a good guy. But anyway, the bottom line of it is probably, you remember what year he got inducted to the Hall of Fame?
Yes, I believe.
I forget what year it is. Whatever
4 years
it is.
ago.
Something like that. Okay, but anyway, but the thing was with him is I had a guy that was backstage before he got inducted, and he was talking to a couple other wrestlers, and they were talking about that story I just told you guys. And they said, "Do you know that he talked about you right before he got inducted?" I said, "That's unbelievable." You know, I like a tear wanted to go down my face, you know, that type of ordeal. And that was like, I said, wow. So I still have like the outfit of Scott Hall, the Razor Ramon, and it's hanging on my there. And I've had a lot of people say to me, well, do you want to sell? I said, no. I said, no, I don't sell nothing. It's not for selling. It's all friendship and sentimental. And that's what it is. And I got a whole history of different outfits throughout the years that the guys have given me is on a friendship basis for merit and for good friendship.
Now, let the audience know they're behind glass. It's locked.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, you can't. No, you can't.
Ben Brown, the historian from WWEF, he came out and did a story on you because of that collection. It's like a Hall of Fame. It's almost better than the Hall of Fame.
I've had a lot of people ask me, for whatever. I said, listen, and they said, you have a mint of money worth of outfits. I said, I don't care if it's there's no value at all. It's the whole idea when it happened. It has nothing to do about money. And people said to me, what would you do? I said, it's not for sale. I said, I don't want nothing for it. It has nothing to do with it. It was all sentimental, like Scott Hall.
Right.
I mean, like that type. I mean, but when he talked about me in that night in 1994, that was okay. And he talked about that event where Romascavage sewed me up. And he was talking to Hogan, by the way, with that too. And a couple other guys. So I had one of the guys that were backstage. They said, do you know he was talking about you? I said, well, I'm very honored by that. But I said, I'm happy. But he didn't lose one hair. And they couldn't tell that I sewed him up. So in other words, that was a big highlight for me, okay? As far as saying, hey, Romascavage is the right guy for the operation.
A lot of
exactly. And I'll never forget, I'm in northeastern Pennsylvania, okay? And I got a call once. They needed a doctor in the worst way to do an event, okay? Up, where Erie, Pennsylvania is? It's on the other side.
Oh God.
Okay, way up there, by the Great Lakes and all that stuff. Okay, okay, and whatever. So anyway, they needed a doctor that night. Now, guess you're never. This is one of those unbelievable stories. But the event was on a January night. On a January day, okay? And in the forecast, they said they were anticipating about 2 feet of snow there. But the event, so they asked me, and I'll never forget, the lady called me up, okay? She said to me, we need a doctor, would you go? I said, yeah, I'll go, why not? I said, when is it? Tomorrow. I said, oh, okay, one of those deals, okay? I said, listen, so it was from me to there was like nothing but a real pain in the neck. So I left about 16, 18 hours early. Right. Wow. Took my time. And my wife was there. My kids, we need a lot of eyes to watch the roads. Okay. And finally I get up there. Right. And the event's good. It's sold out. It's snowing like hell, but the whole event's sold out in the house show. So they get there. I do all the paperwork, whatever's got to be done for the guys. and it gets back there, whatever. And then that was I forget when it's 94, 5, something like that. And anyway, I got a call from Stanford on that, and they said, we really appreciate what you did for us. And that was all they said. Well, I said, fine, I'm happy to help out. Had a great time, by the way. Okay, I spent the night up there. We spent whatever, and it was awesome, and but it was a great event. So anyway, that was like, more like, well, hey, Romascavage is let's keep on with him, okay, type of thing, and that was good. And then people say to me, what else happened? Well, you remember? I don't know if you remember Mark Canterbury, Hogman.
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
real good guy. Well, anyway, he had an event. Okay, it was a pig pen match. It was in 1995, December 95. Look it up. I forget exactly. I think that was out around Hershey or something like that. Well, anyway, it was Triple H going against Mark Canterbury. Okay, it was one of those pig pen matches. Well, anyway, Triple H is still Triple H. Okay, he's not who he is now, obviously, in the sociality of things. So anyway, long story short, he got cut from his whole back, from his wing bones, the scapula, all the way down to the upper part of his back. Straight cut, right down the back. So anyway, I take him out, right? I put him out, hose him down, get all that mud off him, clean up real good, and so his back up from him, right? So that was like another, like, oh my God type of moment. So Triple H, we became good friends after that too. And throughout the years, he gave me a couple of his outfits, and it's just like a gratitude thing. Like, in other words, hey, I appreciate your service. I thank you for what you did for me, that type of thing. And it was, no strings attached, but it was just events like that all through my 13 years with WWF. Okay, I actually became WWE a little bit, towards the end, but it was that type of event. Okay, that just, like I said, oh my God, it was just, it goes on.
Frank, I remember one night they did a skit with you and Triple H and Stephanie, and you were massaging her, and then he was like, "What are you doing? That's too hard."
That's right. That was it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and they would call me for a multitude. Listen, that's what I said before. Vince McMahon, Linda McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, and Shane McMahon. They always treat us like they treated the Romascavage family really good. And I really mean that.
The family,
the whole family, right. Absolutely. I mean, you got to look at it this way. I could walk up in the Gorilla anytime I wanted to. You know what I mean? Think about that. I mean, or if there was an issue with a wrestler after a fight, I would go up in the Gorilla and look at the guy when he comes back up. Okay, come into the Gorilla from the ring, and there was never a question like, "What are you doing?"
And for the fans that don't, the Gorilla position, you don't get by. That's Gorilla Monsoon started that. You ain't getting by that. That's the line. That's it.
That's it. That's the line. But I'll tell you what, anything, I mean, they never question me, but it's like everything else. You got to prove yourself. Anything you do in life, you got to prove yourself. You got to say, hey, I'm the right deal for this situation. And that's why I say you got to be able to prove yourself. You got to show the respect, the loyalty, and the fact that you're there for one thing. That's to help the wrestler. And that's what it's all. And I never had ever a pushback from anybody. You got to, the agents are tough. When I was there, they were tough. You had your Tony Gurrias, you had your, Chief J Strongbows, you had those guys there, Jack Lanza, you had Pat Patterson, you had guys there that look at you very fun. And I'll tell you, George, the Animal Steel, he was a real tough agent. Okay. But the bottom line of it is, but they were only looking out for the company and they did their job well. And those guys, after a while, when these guys would have medical concerns, they would come to me and say, Frank, what should I do for this and that? The agents. So I figured, oh boy, and don't forget Briscoe. Jerry Briscoe was in there too. He was a great guy too. But it was all about, they were all good. So when they came to me and asked me for my medical opinion on something about them, I felt quite honored. I think, oh man, now I'm part of the guys club that, they have trust and confidence in me. And that really meant a lot. Okay. And that's how I saw it. So, everything, that's just how the thing was. But the King of the Ring in Pittsburgh, everybody says to me, how was that match? That was the Undertaker Foley match, Mankind match.
With the cage.
Yeah. Exactly. That was unbelievable. That was 100% real all the way down the line. Unbelievable. And I've said before and I say again, when it was just one of those type of events, I mean, my respect to both those guys were just unbelievable. I mean, especially Foley. I mean, he's a beast. That guy he thought he was going to do what he did. And he said, man, I don't know about this. Well, we got up, like I said earlier, we took him to the back and he was laying down on the bench there and everybody was watching, bleeding out of his mouth pretty good. And I said, Mick, don't talk. Think about better things. I'm going to sew you up right now. So I put a whole bunch of stitches in his mouth, sewed his mouth up for him, and he had 2 teeth there, right? And the teeth, okay, the bottom line of this, the 2 teeth, I took those 2 teeth and packed them on ice, okay? And so I packed him on ice. So I sewed his whole mouth up, stopped the bleeding, which is good to go from his mouth goes, right? Hugs, kisses, all that happy crap, whatever. But we had 2 teeth on ice. What do you do with that? Well, if you ever get stuck, and now King of the Ring, that was back in 98. I don't know how it is out there now at Pittsburgh, but right across, well, it was the Igloo. That's where that was. It's not even
Igloo, yep.
It's gone. Okay. But right across from there, right down the road from there, was the University of Pittsburgh Dental School.
Wow.
So if you ever get yourself in a quagmire or in a situation where you need a dentist, that place has a dentist there 24/7. So I get on the phone and I said, give me somebody over in that dental department. I got to talk to them, see what we got over there. So I get on the phone. First of all, I asked the guy, do you like wrestling? You know, I got to see if the guy likes wrestling or not. He says, I love wrestling. I said, well, I'm going to make your effing night tonight. Tonight, I'm going to make your effing night. He says, what you got? He says, you have no idea what happened, but you're going to be very, very noticed. So I said, listen, I sewed his whole mouth up for him. Here's the 2 teeth. They're on ice. You're going to take Mankind, AKA McFoley. Okay. And you're going to see that. You're going to implant those 2 teeth in there and follow up on this guy to see what you can do to help save those teeth. All of a sudden, you didn't hear a darn thing on the phone. I thought, what the hell? Do I have a misconnection? And finally, then a nurse picks up or somebody else picks up and says, doctor, are you there? Meaning me, right? So, yeah, what happened? He says, the guy is like bewildered that he can't believe what's happening. I says, just suck it up. He's coming now. So anyway, it worked out good, right? But anyway, throughout the years, Foley and Foley's been in my place, 40, 50 different times. And what does that mean by over at my place? It means you got to spend the night here for at least 40, 50 different times, which he did. But Foley gave me an outfit. He gave me all 3 of his outfits, Mankind, Dude Love, he gave me all that stuff, and, it's because of good friendship. I'm in his book. You'll see me where he mentions me in his book. And a few years ago, I work here. My office is open 6 days a week, and I see people whenever. Okay, phone rings, I answer, talk to you, help you out. Okay, and so he calls up, and he calls me up. It's a Saturday, right? I never forget it. We had one of those unbelievable days. It was like 3:00. It was like one of those big days of chest pains and people can't breathe type of days in the office. So Foley calls me up about 3:30, 4:00. He says, Frank, listen, I want to honor you for the match, what you did and all this. And I want to invite you. I said, yeah, well, Mick, what is it? What, about a month, 2 months? When is? No, in about 4 hours. I said, what? 4 hours? So anyway, I said, why not? So I said, so I got there and he put on a nice parade. Awesome parade that he did for me. And but it's friendship like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? And what can you say? But he gave me all 3 of his outfits and, and the mandible claw, all that stuff. And it's like they give it to you because, it's the respect back and forth. And I still, a lot of people say, do you still talk to a lot of guys? I talk to a lot of these guys, for medical advice, what to do, what not to do, or if I got to see it. And it works out really well. And
Frank, here's another one to cement your credibility. Shawn Michaels, I remember you telling this. They said something about surgery, and he said, not until I talked to Dr. Frank.
Yeah, that's a true story. That's a true story. Do you remember WrestleMania up in Boston?
Yes.
Okay, Mike Tyson. You guys remember that, right, Benny? You remember that one?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, anyway, it's one of those type of days here in the office, right? So Stanford calls me up, and they said, listen, we have a problem. Now, WrestleMania is in 2 days. I said, well, what's the problem? They said, well, Shawn has a really bad back. We want to send him to a neurosurgeon. It goes on that. And the only way he'll agree to that is if you agree to it. Me, to agree for him, right?
Yeah.
So I said, well, what do you want to do here? What's the status? He said, listen, we're going to have a limousine come to your back door, and we're going to fly you from Newark Airport up to Logan Airport in Boston, right? Now, this was before 9/11, okay?
Yeah.
So I said, well, how soon is the limo coming? Well, it's coming now. I said, okay. And that's so I got a whole bunch of patients. My wife gets on there, cancels everybody out, brings them back later on that night, okay? So anyway, I said, how soon they'll be there, right? Whole story, right? Whole story. So anyway, the limo comes, jump in the limo. Everything's good, right? Patients are all rerouted till like later that night or the next day. Okay, that type of thing. get to the airport, Logan Airport, right? I said, well, what do I do when I get there? I don't know what to do. And they said, we have everything planned. Don't worry about it. So I get there. I get right there. The limo pulls up to Logan Airport. They drop me off. And that back then you could just get out of the damn limo and run right out, right? So anyway, you know when you're hitting the big time, you know it's like when you get out of an airport and there's your name. It says Dr. Romascavage. The limo guy has Dr. Romascavage placard, right? I said, son of a bitch, I do belong with these guys, right? Okay, put it quite bluntly, okay. So anyway, I go to the guy, right? It's like one of those Bruce Willis moments, you know, like Die Hard movies, like, okay, you know what I mean? That type of thing where he has the limo guy. So anyway, I jump in the limo. He says, I got it all down. I know right where to take you. Everything's fine. So as I get in the limo, they call me from the hotel where they're at. And they said, would you like a meal? Do you want something to eat? I said, not really. I said, I don't want anything. I said, I want to help Sean out. Then I got to get back to treat people. Okay. So anyway, long story short, go up and see Sean. Now, when I get there, they have a few of the agents that are right there. Okay. So I said, well, let's go upstairs and see him. Lo and behold, nobody went upstairs with me to see Sean. I asked him, I said, you guys come with me? I said, no, no. I don't know what was laid down ahead of time, but it was that good. So I go up to see Sean. I work on his back. Okay. I'm a DO. I'm an osteopath. Okay. So I do everything medical guys do, plus, you know, do other thing. Okay, and make a long story short is I don't know if I gave him a muscle relaxer or something simple. Okay, something, you know, I don't write dope, and they all know that. Okay, I'm a very clean doctor in my practice. That's my reputation. I do not write anything bad, you know, from codeine cough syrup to sleeping pill. I don't write any of that stuff. I tell people I just don't do that. If you have pain, I want to know you have pain. That type of thing. That's my philosophy. It's how I've always been. Okay, I don't want for any of that stuff. No sleeping pills, no nerve. I don't need that. I said, you don't need that. Find out your real problem. What's going on with you? So anyway, and so I know Sean, and he wasn't looking for anything. He just wants to get feeling better. So lo and behold, okay, everything went good. And if you recall, he was in Boston. So Boston, you know, he was at the Fleet Center up there. Okay, at Boston, there it was. So 2 days later, I think, or was it? I came up. We left early that morning to go up there because I was the doc up there for him that day. Okay, and you know and there's where I met Mike Tyson. You know, I met you know Jennifer Flowers was there. Remember her?
Yes.
Yeah, Clinton's whatever, and she was nice too. Very nice person. And Tyson was you know, everybody says, how's Mike Tyson? I don't know if you guys if you know him or if you don't, but I met Mike, and I come up to him. I said, and he didn't know me. I didn't know him. I knew who he was, but he didn't know me. So I go up there and shake his hand. I said, Mr. Tyson, I said, it's a real pleasure to meet you. I've been a fan of yours ever since you're 20 years old and won the WBC boxing title. He said, I'll make a deal with you. You call me Mike and I'll call you Frank. So then I knew the guy was like right spot on, right? I like that. So anyway, I said, can we have a picture with you? So now all of a sudden there's other people coming around. They see I'm talking with Tyson. They want to get a picture with him. Okay. So anyway, what happens is we had that old Kmart type box cameras you bought. You know, we didn't, you know what I mean? That little portable.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, remember that stuff that they don't have anymore? Well, anyway, we didn't have any of the cameras. So on the way up, I said, oh, shoot, we don't have any cameras or nothing, whatever. This is before they did it on the phones and all that. So anyway, so we stop at a Kmart and buy a thing, right? So lo and behold, we go up there, use this little cheap version of this Kmart camera to take a picture. Damn thing doesn't work. Doesn't work. So Tyson's there, you know, arms around everybody waiting for cheese and snap a picture. Well, guess what happened? It never worked. So anyway, so Tyson says, don't freak out. Let me have the camera. He tells us that, right? So he does something, he adjusts something, this, that. It works now. He takes it. I says, my God, he says, been there, done that. I've been there. He said, so we laugh like hell. But first class guy, real good guy.
Beautiful. But Caesar, Vince had everything worked out for you. You didn't have a hitch one. Everything was great.
Yeah. I said before, and I thought that, but you have to gain the respect. You got to take your scrapes. Right. You got to get your bruises, and you got to say thank you and say I really appreciate it. And I always did that. It was called first class manners, and that's what I always tell the kids growing up today. In the generations how it is now, if you say thank you, you're welcome. Open a door for somebody. Say yes, sir, no, ma'am. You're going to be surprised how many doors you open up before they find out where you graduated high school from. Because that means a lot. You know that.
Manners go a long way.
It sure does, and that's incredible. But they treated us well. The McMahon family, nothing but the best. Okay, and that's what it was. They treated us really well, and all this and that. But throughout the years, I mean, then we were in WrestleMania 15. You know what? Before, well, prior to that, remember the Brawl for All match that they had there, where what it was Brad Shaw and Bart Gunn. Remember that?
Bart Gunn, right?
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know how that went. Well, Bart Gunn obviously won. Whatever. That was a Monday Night Raw thing. So I was in the ring on that. You'll see me in the ring on that one, right? And so anyway, the following was WWF WrestleMania 15. I was in, and that was Butterbean going against Bart Gunn.
I was going to ask about. Go ahead, Frank.
That's right. And so Jerry Lawler, who's a real good friend, a great friend, I love the guy, whatever. And he said to me, says, if he gets his ass knocked out, I'm going to announce you all over the damn TV. So lo and behold, guess who got knocked out? Bart Gunn. And, and
Jerry, 20 seconds, Frank.
That's right. I mean, Eric, you know, aka Butterbean. I mean, you know, you can't outbox that guy. You got to hit him with quickness. And you know, you got to hit him on the knees. You got to knock him down that way. You're not going to beat him up. He's too strong on top. You know what I mean? That type of thing. You can't outpunch that guy. That type of thing there. But that was a good thing and all that. But you know, throughout the years, you know, like you say, all the promos I cut. I was one with Rock at SummerSlam in New York City. We were at the Garden for one of them, and Dwayne was he had like a little promo, and he said I'm going to use you in a promo with me. I said, why not? So we did. What did we do? We had fun doing it. Okay, and you know, it's all good. But throughout the years, you know, I've sewed a lot of people up. You know, everybody says, how did you get in the ring there for a Hell in a Cell match? Well, Hell in a Cell match was one of those type of things where people said to me, no, they called me from back, so I had to run down and jump in the ring then. But I just got done sewing Owen Hart up. Owen Hart got cut in the match prior to. So I just got done sewing his face up. So bang, bang, bang. It was one of those type of things. You know, it was good. It was, you know, it was a good event, that type of thing there. Or Kane, you know, the mayor of what you call of Knoxville. Well,
Knoxville, Tennessee.
We were down at a match. Oh, where was that? I have to double check where it was. And he got hit right in the face underneath his mask, and he had a nice bleeder in his forehead. Okay, went into his scalp, and I said to him, Glenn, I should get that mask out of the way. He said, I can't do it. You got to leave the mask on. I said, really? Okay, so we made it work. So they were taking pictures of me. In fact, I have a couple of Raw magazines back in the day that I kept as souvenirs throughout the day. And we laughed like about it. So I sewed him up with his mask on. And they were taking pictures. I said, because he said, I can't do it. They're going to take pictures. I said, I totally understand. So it worked out good and all this and that. But it's, you know, it's one hell of a ride. I mean, I had a hell of a ride with WWF.
They had to have the right man to get it done, Frank, and you were it. Benny's got a question. Let Benny go ahead, Benny.
This is going to be an off the wall question, but I don't. You guys remember Dr. Marcus Welby, MD, back in the day?
Sure, absolutely.
All right. Well, my parents would watch it, and when I was in my early teens, I became a hypochondriac for a brief period of time. But whatever the illness of the week was on Marcus Welby, you know, it was like, you know, leukemia, sickle cell anemia, you name it. I had it the next week. I had all the symptoms. So thankfully, I outgrew it. But my question is, were any of the wrestlers, and you don't have to mention names, were any of the wrestlers hypochondriacs?
Not, I mean, there's some guys whose thresholds are different thresholds. I mean, some guys, you know, you could hit them over the head and knock the hell out of them, and they would keep on walking. But there's other guys, if you would step on their toes the wrong way, they would have a hard time walking. You know what I mean? You got different levels of, should I say, I don't want to say hypochondria, but different levels of pain tolerance. Okay. But most guys at that level, they realize that their spot is that valuable. And they realize the fact that if they get injured, that means they're out of business. They don't get paid and they're out. Okay. And they can't give up that spot, because behind every wrestler that's in there now, there's a multitude of guys that have great talents that are just vying for your position. You know what I mean? So they always keep that in the back of their mind. So a lot of guys would, you know, I know guys that got hurt and they said to me point blank, I cannot miss. I will tape it up. I will suck it up. I will perform and I'll make it happen. And I respect that because they understand the value of what they have. They're major league, and they don't want to lose the spot. I get it.
Well, Frank, that takes me down a road. When you've done a lot of the indie shows for sure.
Sure, lots, tons. I still do.
The crazy risks people are taking, men and women
Right.
that want to be in the business, they want to get to the big time. Can you explain some of that? Because sometimes I think it's like, are you crazy? I've been
It
on
is.
some of the shows. It's
See,
like, are you absolutely nuts? But they're
see,
doing it.
exactly. I still do a lot of independence, okay, and I grade independence by different classes. In other words, I still do some NWA events, or I'll still do stuff like that on the higher professional level right now. But as far as like the indies go, there's different levels of indies. I classify them just like the minor leagues. You have AAA, like AAA baseball. You have AA. You have single A. That type of events, okay. And the guys that really frighten me, were the guys. First of all, the guys I know their pain levels. I know their abilities. Guys I've seen wrestlers, I vibe how they go. I know when they're hurt or when they're not hurt or whatever, because they'll tell it how it is. Okay, but the guys that are just starting off, that want to be in WWF tomorrow, those are guys that you got to really watch out for, because they'll do the moonsaults, they'll do all this stuff, and they'll do all these unbelievable acrobatic acts that they realize that, hey, listen, look at Droz. Off of pole, he became a quadriplegic. You see what I mean? They don't realize that, you get hurt. Sometimes you never get better, or sometimes you die from that event.
Darren Drozdov, yes.
Yeah. Look at Drozdov. Great shape, but it didn't work out. Things just didn't work out the way he went backwards on when he went off.
Had a ring for the Denver Broncos.
Denver Broncos, exactly. So this guy could. Yeah, exactly. So I always tell fans, I say, listen, you got time for this stuff. It's like everything. You gotta nurture this thing. You gotta start. You gotta watch. You gotta pay attention to what's going on and develop yourself. Don't go crazy, because 2 seconds after you're out of the ring, most fans are gonna forget your name. They're not even gonna know who you are. I mean, unless you know what I mean. But as you go up the pyramid of wrestling, you're gonna say, "Aha! I'm getting better and better and better." But a lot depends on who you're training with. Okay. And a lot of guys, I tell a lot of guys, just settle it down a little bit. You know what I mean? Have a clean life, work out well, eat well, work out, and this and that, and know your limitations. Okay. There's certain people that no matter how much you train, they're never going to do a moonsault. They're never going to do any of these high tech moves, because if they do, they're going to get hurt. And that's how it is. But these guys are doing unbelievable flips. So I'm 100% against that. And a lot of times I'll talk to guys before the matches about, what are you doing? What are you up to? Or what's your strategy here? And you have to like bring them into reality, because if you don't, I don't want to see anybody get hurt. And I've been very lucky with that. Life and death situations. I've been in 2 of them personally with they were both with boxing. Okay. Boxing. Wow. I had 2 guys, I had 2 guys that were life and death, and I pulled them both out of death. So they're alive today. And I had one guy who got hit in the jaw. Stevie Little's his name. It was a Lancaster Fighter Pro boxing show. The whole bit like that. And he got hit, the main event. He got hit under the jaw, and he got hit. He got knocked out. He started to turn blue. He was blue in the ring. And it was like, with a referee called me, and he said, "Frank," he said, "he count 1, 2, get in here now." I'll never forget that. Okay. And Blair was his first name, the referee. And he said to me, he says, "Get in here now." And I jumped in there, the hell with the count. And I went in there, I put my hand down his throat and pulled the mouth guard right off of his voice box, his larynx. And it was one of them. And what I did, I got the CPR going, administered. The guys is alive today like nothing ever happened. But the thing is, they went to it was one of those nights. So it does happen. Okay. But wrestling too. So if somebody hits, they get hurt. You know what I mean? Every once in a while, I get events where guys break this and break that. But the guys I've been around, most of them know how I am, and I tell them how they are. Okay. And I tell them, never any headshots, no chair shots to the head or neck. None of that stuff. You don't need it. You don't need that. I mean, fans want to hear a hit. They don't care if you hit them on the ass end, whatever. But headshots, neck shots, I'm not a fan.
You're leading me to where I want to take you next, Frank.
Yeah.
Now, Victoria, she still has a little bit of brain tumor.
Right.
I've studied a lot over the years, learning, how to handle these things. People don't realize when they say phony, I like to punch them right in the mouth, because it's like, there's nothing phony out there.
It's 100% real. Absolutely right.
In the head, it's pinpoint hemorrhaging that you do complete lifelong damage. Am I wrong?
You're right. And I'll tell you, I want to tell you one little side bit here, what I'm going to tell you guys, and you guys I don't know if you know this about me or not, but this in your audience. Okay. Right now. Okay. I've done, like I said before, I do tons of independence. Okay. but now also I'm involved with. Do you know who Little Mania is? Little Mania. Okay, it's the
No.
little midgets.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Okay.
Now the midgets, I want to tell you something. The midgets, I'm the doctor for these guys. These guys are like McMahon's deal. They go a whole round around all 48 states. They're
Okay.
occupied 325 days a year. Okay. And they go everywhere. Washington, they go to Florida many times. But they need the physicals. They need the blood, the EKGs, they need all. And I do that for these guys. And I tell them, none of this fancy stuff. These guys are solid. They're great athletes and they can hold their own. Excellent athletes. And if you look back in time, Hogan was the originator of that. Okay, when he had the wrestling, he had the look back in time, you'll see that he had like that's what it was. But anyway, but now I do those guys. Okay, and I mean we do physicals twice a year. Okay, but they need their blood tests. Every state's different, but they need my signature to say that they can medically be okay to wrestle in that state. If they don't have that signature, they can't wrestle. That's one of those deals. But anyway, but that's where I'm at with that right now. But these guys here, I doctor those guys too. And I'll tell you what, and those guys are solid performers, are hardworking, solid performers, and they get it done. But anyway, just a sidebar on that, but it's still wrestling talk.
Sure, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Frank, have you ever stopped anybody from going out from the curtain and said, you can't work tonight?
Yeah, I have. Yes, I have. Yes, I have. Absolutely. If people aren't physically able to or mentally able to do something, I tell them no. Period. No. And I'll say, listen, hate me now, but love me tomorrow. Because no, you're not going to do it. And I've done that. Yeah, absolutely, John. Without naming names, I obviously can't. But I've done it all. Yeah, but that's how it is. And I've done levels WWF down to all the different independent leagues. Yes, I have. Yeah.
A lot of people like to badmouth Vince McMahon. Did Vince ever say to you, hey, can you forget about this and look the other way? Or was he like, I want to take care of my talent?
Well, listen, Vince McMahon would, like I said earlier, I never had, in 13 years, I never had one problem with him. Okay, I mean, he treated me well and did this and that. When I had to get state forms for him to, get passed to go to different states, because remember back in the day he was wrestling himself.
Yeah.
He never fought me for that form. He won for it with the other guys. So I mean, it wasn't like, no, he was not at all. Not at all. He was first class. I never had a problem with those guys. But a lot of people would say, hey, we see like the Romascavages, like us, like the McMahons when their kids were growing up. You know what I mean? And they treat us well. I can only say the best for him. And people say this and say that. Listen, I don't hold opinions on people. That's not only him, but everybody on third party gossip. You know what I mean? I give everybody a shot. You prove yourself to me, I'll give it to you back with interest. And that's how I am as a person, as a doctor, the same thing like that. But no, I can't say anything negative about him at all. Not one bit. No.
Well, Frank, I want you to put yourself over now because you're an old school doctor. I was talking to Benny on Sunday, and it's not just like, okay, what's your insurance? Because a lot of times today, they won't let you come in for the procedure till you've made the down payment. And if you got to use a credit card, tough shit. You're not like that, are you, Frank?
Not at all. And, like I said before, I get a lot of people that'll come to me, all this and that, and they'll have no insurance. They have no insurance. They're sick. I'll give you a typical example. I might have a family come in. They lost their insurance. They have no insurance. They have 4 kids at home. Everybody's sick. So my response over the phone is this: listen, you come in here. Bring the sickest one in, and we'll treat the rest at home. Okay? They come in to me, right? And what we do. Our visits. I mean, for treating like 4 or 5 people, their visits might be between I'd say the most for everything, maybe $75 for everybody. That's the total bill. Okay,
wow.
They'll get that, and plus I hook them up with pharmacies. They get them coupons to get good deals, so that when they leave me, they still have the ability to medicines to get whatever. Listen, I get really busy here, and unfortunately, so I tell people that they might be here a couple hours, but when they leave here, they'll have a plan, they'll be satisfied, and we'll make sure they're good. Period. There's no other way to say it. And if you have 10 things wrong with you, well, let's talk about all 10 things today. Not, well, how's your elbow today? Make an appointment for 3 weeks later and come back and all that crap. No, that don't fly. That doesn't fly. But see, the art of medicine is really going to hell because people tell you it's all corporate controlled. And when it comes to the ability to get anything done, you have to answer the corporations and to the insurance companies. And they rule the roost. No matter who it is, no matter the title of that doctor, it is the insurance company that rules the roost. They'll tell you if you can get your MRI, if you can get your CAT scan, if, and if. There's a lot of ifs involved with the whole thing. And the whole idea, like me, I do house calls. I'll treat, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're fat, tall, black, brown, yellow, whatever. We'll find a way to get you all better. And people come back. Or whatever. That's how it should be. The old-fashioned way of doing medicine.
What have you accepted for payments over the years, Frank?
Deer meat, 2x4s. I like to build stuff when I'm get a hold of yourself of this. Pig manure for my garden. Just basic stuff like that. From also fertilizer I can put around my plants, around my building. Stuff like that. And people say, "Yeah," I said, "Just bring it over here. We'll handle that."
This is a man that is true to the heart for his fellow man.
Right, I am because that's how I was brought up, Nikita. That's how it is, and you know what? Let me tell you something, Benny. You're the same way too. You guys we're all on the same page, but it depends on how you're brought up. I was brought up very simple. Listen, I'm a farm kid by nature. Listen, my dad never graduated high school. He went from 11th grade to Battle of Bulge in 12th grade, World War II.
Wow.
Okay? And my mom's a farm girl. So we came from very basic roots. There was always food on the table. But the old adage is don't criticize somebody by what they are, what they have and what they don't have, or if they're black or if they're brown or if they're yellow. Treat them right. Because we all bleed red. And that's the thing of it is people tend to forget that. And that's the secret, the respect to humanity. And that's what it's all about.
And the other thing, as you well know, Frank, we all feel pain. We
do.
all have the same pain level. You're going to feel it.
And you know what? And karma is a bitch too. I don't care what anybody says. You go out and do bad stuff, it comes back every time to get you. That's how my philosophy has been to seeing all this and that.
Amen.
Amen,
now, Frank,
brother.
I remember when you told me the story, somebody came Christmas Day, he got hooked with a fishing line somehow.
Oh, yeah. You remember that story? Yeah, do you? Yeah. I have two good Christmas stories. Number one is we were sitting here, right? And it was like one of those snowy Christmas-like days, okay? And I hear this horn sound. Now we're listening to like Christmas music, and I thought, it's the darn album, whatever. And I'm listening more, and it sounds like a horn sound. So I go right outside my front door there, and there's this guy out here parked with his white car, right? And he's bleeding right down his whole leg. And what happened to him, he was out there, a big heavyset guy. And he said, I was out taking care of my rabbit. And what happens is I tripped in it, and I was right by an inner tube, or not a tube, but a wheel is the sharp wheel fitting or whatever. He got cut there and lacerated his whole leg right down, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is Christmas Day. So what do? You say go to the ER? I could if I was that way, but I wasn't that way. Okay, so I said to him, I said, listen. I said, and his first name is Jack. I said, Jack, listen, how are you with pain? He says, what do you got to do? I said, I'm going to sew you up right now. He says, I can handle it. I said, now listen, I want you to turn the Christmas music up real loud on your radio and think about good things after I get done sewing you. So I gave him about 30 stitches in his leg, 30. Right, sewed him up, and he handled like a trooper. And it was one of those good stories. And you get stories like that. And I mean, I had a lady who was sitting there, knocked on my door in the middle of the night, and she had this darn thing sticking out of her throat. And I said to her, "What? She said, I can't talk." I said, "What's wrong?" She opens her mouth, and there's a damn fish bone sticking right out of her throat.
Yeah.
I said, "Are you ready for this?" She said, "What?" Bang! I whacked it, pulled it right out. I said, "Have a great night, will you?" And that was one of those. She called me the next day. She said, "Wow, what a difference!" And I said, "Good. What a difference." But you get those stories. That's old school stuff like that. And that's what I'm saying before. It depends how you do it, not what you make of it.
Now, Frank, please tell the story when you would go into Madison Square Garden and the NYPD. They're the tops. They're the toughest.
They are the toughest.
But they gave you
right.
Go ahead, tell the story.
Yeah. Hey, Vic. Yeah. You know what? I'll tell you something. Throughout the years, okay, I've been at Madison Square Garden a pretty fair amount of times, okay, throughout my years, okay, as a doctor for them, whatever, okay. Well, to make a long story short is, throughout the years, I mean, when you deal with the NYPD, okay, or when you deal with any of the cops there inside Madison Square Garden, they're tough. They're real tough. You look at them the wrong way, they're going to tell you go fly a kite. So anyway, eventually, so eventually throughout the time period, what we did is I got to know these guys. And what happened is we got to know these guys throughout the years. And eventually, I think it was the last or next last time, one of the cops said to me, we got to be friends and all that eventually, whatever. And he said, did you ever drive in Madison Square Garden? I said, drive? No, why? He says, get your car there. No, whatever. And I said, really? He says, you're going to park over there. You see, so we drove around Madison Square Garden, the inside. He says, over there's 10 cars. You're the 11th. And I said, unbelievable. So I told a lot of my good friends, and I even tell a lot of my good New York friends, okay? He says, did you ever hear about driving to Madison Square Garden? He says, you can't do that. I did. You know what I mean? So it's one of those type of stories where they look at you like, what, driving that? Really? And it's just like, I shouldn't say bragging rights, but it's just one of those good stories to talk about.
But Frank, it shows the kind of person you are. If you can melt the heart of the police at NYPD, you're top notch, brother.
Absolutely. I'll tell you. Look, you want to hear a good sidebar NYPD story?
Go.
I'll tell you. Here it is. Okay, about 7 years ago. 7 years ago, I'm in my office, right? I'm sitting in my office. I'm not sitting. I was running around. Okay, and all of a sudden, 5 NYPD guys come into my office here in Pennsylvania, fully decorated out, weaponized too, weapons, the whole bit, right? 5 NYPD guys, full uniforms. So anyway, they come up to the reception and say, "We need to talk to Dr. Romascavage." So okay, and they said, "Is he in?" And obviously, I was there. I said, "Okay." So my nurse comes over to me and tells me the situation. I said, "Look, what do they want? They want to talk to you." I thought, "Oh my God, what did I do wrong in New York? What's this all about?" So anyway, make a long story short is I said, "Yeah, bring them in. What's the worst thing that can happen? They can arrest me and take me to New York. That's the worst thing that can happen, right?"
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, make a long story short, they come in there, and the guys came in there, 5 class guys, and they said, "We want to thank you for saving the life of one of our NYPD guys." Now, I didn't know. So I thought for a minute, now, who the hell is this guy? I don't remember him because he came in as a civilian, dressed like all 3 of us right now.
Yeah.
Whatever. So anyway, I diagnosed him, found his problem for him, saved his life. And those 5 guys, he said, what you did for him, you saved his life. He went to a whole bunch of other guys and you saved his life. And he says, we're just here to say thank you personally. And we want to give you something of our, respect back to you. I said, well, that's okay. You don't have to do anything. He says, no. So they gave me a badge of every division of the NYPD. Okay.
Wow.
So it would go by my, like I'm an NRA guy. So it goes, and all my cops that I have, all badges there. So they gave me, it was like 42 different badges from the NYPD, all their different divisions. So we're talking and BSing, right? And these guys are all slap happy and everybody's in a good mood, right? So I talked to the guy and I wanted to see how far I could push the button, right? So I looked at the guys and I said, well, does that mean if I go to New York, like New York City, I can do whatever I want and get away with it? Not really. So anyway, we laughed. They knew I was busting them. It was a great experience.
Now, Frank, tell the story. There was a lady when I was working for Baltimore City Police. I pulled her over, and what happened?
Yeah, classic. I just talked to this lady a couple weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago. I have this.
That.
Yeah, this is unbelievable. I said, you can't make this up. Okay, I have a lady who lives here in the Poconos. She went to Baltimore for some whatever reason. Okay, and she did something wrong. Make a long story short, okay, she deserved to be accommodated by a police detention matter. So, Nikita, you being the police officer you are and whatever, you look at her ID, you look at the whole situation where she's from and all that, and you see Broadisville, Pennsylvania. And you say, wait a minute, do you know who's your doctor? And she says to me, my name, Dr. Romascavage. And you said, I know him. And before you know it, you told her, have a good day. And leave. And you know what? She still talks about that story, how you were the best officer she ever met in her life. And she said, she always goes, she says, thank God for that relationship. It was one of those stories that was just second to none.
Just passing the love on.
Nice job, Nikita. Nice job, my brother. That was beautiful.
Forward, right?
Absolutely.
Benny, you got any questions from the audience?
No, actually, it's pretty quiet. I'm listening in awe, total awe, because I did not think. My perception of medicine, it ideally is exactly what Dr. Frank is talking about, but I didn't think it existed anymore. So hearing this is like, it's unbelievable.
You know what? Let me tell you something, my friend. Benny, I'll tell you something. Nikita, let me tell you something. I've been here. I'm going on October 22nd. It'll be my 41st year here. Okay, wow. That's my wife's birthday. So we
happy birthday.
Yeah. So anyway, to make a long story short is what we did is this, okay? I've only ever been solo. I have no nurse practitioners. It's only me as the physician, okay? I don't need a chart to treat anybody. We don't epic. We don't fax stuff. We don't do any of that stuff via the computer because in my office, I have no computers. Now, people say to me, well, I'm not against computers, but when I was an ER doc, we never had any of that stuff. So we would get people all over the world we would treat, and they would say, I don't know my medicine. But you know what? We always got our answer to what we needed to know back in the day just by phone calling. We always got it. We found a way to get it. So I'm not against any of that high technology at all. It's not even considered high technology anymore. The fundamental basics. Okay. So anyway, the bottom line is this. Okay, I'm not against that, but I don't feel like I tell people I feel I don't need that to treat you. Listen,
Right.
I only have charts here. I have nothing electronic at all. In other words, I've never been hacked once. People say
There
to
you
me,
go.
I said, your
Nothing to
records are
hack,
safe
right?
here. No way it's going to get hacked if somebody breaks in and steals your damn chart. I said,
Fucking
that's the
A,
only
Frank.
way. Or if you
Yes.
tell them what you want to tell them, okay? But I tell them, I said, your records are safe here. I mean, there's no other way to say it. I've never been hacked once in 41 years.
Frank, I must have 10 different things from monitoring. They said, well, your records got hacked from the hospital, the office,
Yeah.
whatever. We're going to give you this service for a fucking year. It's like, you stick that
Yeah.
up your ass. That's
Yeah,
garbage. I don't need it.
exactly. Because you know what, Nikita, I'll tell you something. And I'll tell you what, Benny, you guys, you don't need that. You don't need that. I mean, treat the patient. You don't need. It's just more little bumps on the road you have to jump over to treat the patient. That's what I'm saying to you. You know what I'm getting at?
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
Frank, have you ever heard of Dr. Tent, T-E-N-T? He was another great DO chiropractors and most knowledgeable of the return of the realm of the body to put people back together with the chiropractic. You
Well,
do that, right?
To be honest with you, not really. I mean, I'm sure he was one hell of a doctor. Is he still? I don't even know how. Is the man with us or still practicing and all that? Do you know or not?
I don't know. I just saw that come across the screen.
Yeah, no. Tell the questioner. I don't really know. If I did, I'd tell you. If I didn't, I do. Not really. I don't know who the man is. No, not really. Yep.
That's a good
Here-
comment.
Somebody
Jane.
said they'd rather have you than Blue Cross, Frank. Jane is a great person herself. We love her. She's good support. I've known her for years. And that's it. You're like a medical center where you are because you have everything there.
Well, listen, let me
And
tell you something.
but you have this, more importantly, the heart to
Well,
really
Nikita,
care.
listen. The insurance card, all that is a diversion. I mean, you need it if you go to the hospital, or if you need this, you need that. I get it. Nobody should lose their house because they fall down and break their leg, or because that shouldn't happen to anybody.
Or
okay?
cancer. Yeah,
that's exactly right. So, in other words, we don't do those insurances because I've battled those guys throughout the years, and I've always won against them. Okay, they tried to cut us off because we weren't electronic. Okay. So we said, no way, Jose. So we went in front of the boards of how to us, and we won. Okay, because we don't have to be Medicare too, by the way. Okay, a little FYI.
Oh, God
so
bless
in other
you.
words, federal and state. So we won twice because we said no, and we did it by ourselves. No lawyers, ourselves, because we said no, you can't do that. That is not constitutional. You can't pull that crap. And we won twice. So anyway, those guys, we split apart nicely and left it that way. You know what I mean?
But thank you for the Medicare part, because I know of old timers that eat dog food so they can afford.
Well, you know what? See,
medication or whatever.
we take Medicare, John. I'll tell you what,
Good.
Nikita, and
Beautiful.
we do. And you know what? Because we make sure, and especially the vets, we make sure they're handled right too. Especially the vets. You know what I mean? But because I'll tell you something. Hey, we wouldn't be talking right now if it wasn't for those guys. Imagine that. Imagine.
Sure.
Really, think about it.
Frank, I didn't know your father was in Battle of the Bulge. That's
He
wonderful.
was Battle of the Bulge. My dad built this building, Nikita. He built this building. He was the smartest man I ever met in my life. Was that my dad was that type of guy. He look you in the eye, shake your hand, it's done deal. It's like right here. It's like everything. Like people worked here. They said you pay your bill on the spot. I said period, and that's what we did. So it was you had a bill, we paid you right there, and it was done. And he says, you work your ass off, do what you got to do, but pay that off. And that's what we did. You know what? You've been there, and you know what I'm saying to you. But Benny, I hope Benny gets up here someday and this and that, whatever. I'll tell you what.
I would move there just to have that kind of service. I mean, seriously.
Hey, Benny, listen. I tell you what. People say to me, do you ever review your reviews? I says, not really. I said, I don't even go on computer ever. I said, my daughter was so kind to hook this up tonight for me. I don't know how to do any of this stuff. I
Yes,
don't.
thank
I have
you.
a
Thank
wife
you.
and a daughter, and that they do this without even blinking an eye for me. But I mean, could I do this? No, and I'm not against it. I just don't have the knowledge to do it. I never pursued that desire. If you're saying what I'm getting at. No, but I'll tell you what. You know, a little food for thought. You know, ask your audience this and that. Get something there. Get a podcast. Come to our place. You can try the wrestler's stew and like that. You know, and the wrestler's stew, like I said before, wrestler's stew. My wife makes it, and boy, I'll tell you, we coined that back in the day.
It's
And
resonating through my body, Frank. without a
absolutely,
doubt.
Have you had it, Nikita?
Oh, many times.
absolutely,
Cracks you away.
absolutely. Let me tell you something, Benny and Nikita. Here's how it goes. Back in the day when WWF was like really flourishing, I mean, when you know the '90s, I was so lucky. I was part of that Attitude Era. The Attitude Era was the best ever. I mean, every place was sold out. Unbelievable. To scalp tickets. I mean, you know, people it was so avid to get a ticket. It was unbelievable. But the thing of it is, there was nothing. I mean, people were just possessed by the Attitude Era. It was that good. And I talked to guys part of the Attitude Era that said, wow, what an experience. But we used to go, you know, they used to schedule events where I'm here in northeastern Pennsylvania. We would go up to like Scranton, Wilkes-Barre. Then we go out to Penn State, Bryce Jordan Arena. Then we go to Hershey. We go out to Hershey Arena out there. Then we go to Philly. We go down to Philly. Then you would go to New York City. You go to Madison Square Garden. Then you would go to East Rutherford, Brendan Byrne Arena. You go to all this stuff, and you would do that all in about a couple of weeks. So these guys would spend time here at my office and spend the night. My wife would have a big smorgasbord of food, which was the biggest thing was wrestler stew. And it was amazing how many guys, we used to have 7, 8, 9 guys stay here at once. And we put them up here in our place. And they would come out in the morning, and my office is attached to my office. Okay. And they would come out in the morning and they would greet all the patients. And I mean, no matter how sick they were, they would go, oh my God, oh my God. Okay. This and that was one of those deals. Okay. And people, I said, nah, the hell with the medicine. Let these guys all fraternize. And everybody, it was amazing. Was taking pictures, signing off everything. And it was one of those sceneries, that type of thing there. But I tell you what, but one of the most classic, well, you know, you had Tito Santana on there. Tito's been in my office. I've already,
Sure.
You're speaking about a class guy right there, class all the way down the line.
He's a good guy.
Class, real good guy, real good. He gave me a bunch of his outfits too. But anyway, but Tito's a good man. He a real class act guy, no questions about it. But I'll tell you what, but you look at everybody like how it is. And it was a different era. It was unbelievable. It was just, you know, there's just not enough ways to put in it how good of an era that was.
Okay, here's a good question, Frank. Did you ever meet Dr. George Zaharian?
Yes, I did. People ask me that question. This is probably one of the most unbelievable stories you're going to hear of me talk tonight. George Zahorian. Okay, when I was a medical student, okay, I went to PCOM. Okay, it's a medical college that's on City Line Avenue in Philly. Okay, well anyway, in your first and second years, okay, what they do with you, okay, you stay in the classroom, you learn all the didactic stuff, but in your third and fourth years, you go all over the country to different rotations on different topics that, you know, that they mandate for you, or that what you got to go to that you want to learn for. Me, I used to go around the country back when I was in medical school days, and, you know, it was an excellent experience. Okay. So anyway, I was in Harrisburg for a rotation, okay, for 2 weeks. George Zahorian, Dr. Zahorian, I didn't know the guy. He's a urologist by trade. So, yeah, that's what his trade is. He's a urologist.
I didn't know that.
Okay, yeah, that's what he is. Okay. So anyway, the long story short is the fact that I'm third year med student now. He's a surgeon. He's a urologist surgeon. He's established. Okay. He works out at this hospital in Harrisburg I was at. So anyway, to make a long story short is you go there. The first day I go there, right? He doesn't know me. I don't know him. He said, I'm Dr. Zahorian. What's your name? So I said, Frank Romascavage. He's a third year student, a medical student, all that. So anyway, I'm going to tell you something. This guy was that class of a guy. So he says to me, he says, I'll never forget this as long as I live. He said, listen, urology, look, you'll learn all the urology you want to learn. You got a lot of time to learn all this stuff. He says, right now, I'm going to give you a break. He said, I'll tell you what, I'll give you an A. We were there we were supposed to be there for about 2 weeks at that rotation, right? He says, you don't have to do anything. I'm going to give you an A on your rotation. He says, take your wife and go away for 2 weeks. So I said, oh my God, what's this? I never had anybody talk to me like that before. Okay. He says, no problem. So I called Gloria, my wife. I said, where do you want to go for 2 weeks? She said, you want to go to Florida? Let's go to Florida. I said, get it ready. We're going tomorrow morning. So we did, right? So that day, I still didn't know this guy's name. I couldn't figure out who he was. So anyway, I find out his name. I learn how to spell it. Zohorian, how to spell it, right? So anyway, I bring him over 2 cases of beer, right? I thought, this son of a bitch got to be able to drink. I figured it was, so anyway, I give it to him and I shake his hand. He says, have a good time. And I couldn't believe it. So anyway, we go. What time goes through? Time goes through, and now time goes through. Now his whole thing with WWF, I don't know what that was about. I don't know what he was doing that or not. I don't know. So anyway, lo and behold, things, as we well know, where they went, courts and all that stuff, the steroid stuff and all that. Okay, I'm still not trying to remember who this guy was compared to my Harrisburg, preceptor days. Okay, so anyway, it comes to a head. And I said, holy shit, I remember that guy now. He was the guy I had back when I was a medical student. Now, this is years later, right? So lo and behold, he lost his license and all that. So lo and behold, here in the Poconos, about 7 years ago, I get a phone call from Dr. Zohorian. Okay?
Wow.
I'm thinking, now, wait a minute, what's this all about? Okay. Now, I don't know if he remembered anything about who I was or whatever. So I figured, now what the hell is this all about? So he says he's working for this medical company and he needed an okay for a patient to get a certain type of medicine. I said, sure, why not? And I relayed the story somewhat to him. And, I think I educated, but he was very sincere and all it. And I, whatever. But I never forgot what he did. He said 2 weeks.
Very good.
He said, you got enough time. You'll learn that urology and nothing flat. And I never forgot that. So I gave him 2 cases of beer. And it was like it was Michelob. I even remember the beer I bought him, 2 cases of Michelob. Okay.
Yeah.
Frank, how appropriate. Beer
Exactly.
for a urologist.
Exactly. So it was one of them deals. Okay. So anyway, I always thought to myself, I wonder if he ever knew who I really was. And I didn't say anything about WWF. I didn't say anything about that. I just answered his question in so many words.
Right.
But he was nice on the phone. And he said he works for this company and he identified himself. I said, wow, and that was it. Last time I talked to him, it was maybe it was closer to 8 years, 9 years. But it was one of those phone calls that, wow, that's kind of really unbelievable. But anyway, I appreciate that question. Nobody will believe that story, but that's what really happened. It was one of those type of stories. Absolutely. So everything does come around. Whatever. You would never know how it is, whatever.
Well, I always say from the police perspective, there's 3 sides: your side, my side, and the truth. So
exactly.
You can't always believe what you see.
That's right.
You
know what, Nikita? You know what? You're 100% right on that. You're 100% right. I don't know if we talked about when I was on Monday Night Raw after Steve Austin when he was in Jersey.
No. Tell him that one.
I was just thinking about that. He was in Jersey. I was there. It was at East Rutherford, okay? And he was in Jersey. They packed that place that night. And let me see. That was let's see. That was in 1990. I wrote it down here on the side, okay? And what happened is Austin really was hurt big time. Okay. He really got stunned big time with his neck. Okay. So anyway, you can look at a bunch of the clips. I've been on what the hell they call it, the Dark Side a couple of times.
Yeah. Dark Side.
Yeah,
right.
Dark Side. They had me on for a few things. But anyway, the thing was with him is after he got hurt, you'll see me in the background talking to him, whatever. So anyway, he goes to the hospital. Okay. And I go in the back with him to the hospital. Okay. And we go to the hospital, right? It's only me, him, and the ambulance driver that's driving the thing, right? Okay. So it's after the event's over, and this guy's like laying flat. And everybody, is like, whatever. So we go to this hospital. I don't even know the name of the hospital in Jersey, but I can only say nothing but the best. Nothing but the best. It was that good. So we're going to the hospital, okay, in the ambulance, and there's people outside the hospital yelling and, stone cold, and all that good stuff. And I said, Steve, listen, we have a problem here. There's a lot of people out there, and it's just you and I and the ambulance driver, and they got security outside, but they far outnumber us. So what you're going to do is you're not going to say nothing. You're going to raise your hand that you're okay, and they'll wheel us right in the hospital. And lo and behold, true story, that really happened. Everybody was really worried about him, right? And they're great fans. People are great fans, but some of the most unbelievable people, if you can imagine what I'm saying. Okay, but they're true fans, and they were worried about him. So they were there waiting for him. So we go to the hospital, I'm there, right? I used to be an ER doctor. I like it done yesterday. So I get a hold of the hospital head. I said, well, who's the head of the hospital right now? And they give me the lady, and she was awesome. I said, listen, and it was back in the day when they had all the techs come in at home from home and come in that they didn't do CAT scans all night long or whatever. I said, I want everybody in right now, including the radiologist doctor. I need to know results and reports right now. And they had everybody in. We did CAT scans on him. I did everything on him. He knew the results all within 2 hours. Yeah, wow. That's what we did. I mean, it was all done. You know, you can't make that up. How quick that went. Phenomenal. I give those guys a 5-star review. That hospital. I don't even know it's there anymore. So anyway, we go back, ambulance back, right? There's nobody back there at the arena. Everybody's gone. So anyway, the next day we have Monday Night Raw in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Okay. So we're going to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and it's raining like hell that day. I mean, the events that night, you know, I don't know what's going on, and it's raining like hell. And we have one of those days where there's no spots anywhere. Like you have to walk like a half a mile type of way. It was sold out, packed. It was just unbelievable. Unbelievable. Worst time I ever had to park in my life was that night. So you get in there, I'm like drenched. I'm soaking wet from head down to toe, right? So we go there, and I'll never forget what they did. So Bruce Pritchard comes up to me. You know who Bruce is.
Oh, yeah.
Bruce, great guy. And he says to me, he says, oh, Frank, we're going to put you on Monday Night Raw tonight, and we're going to, you know, we need to have something done. I said, Bruce, I'm soaking wet. How soon are we doing this? He said, we're going to pre-tape you in about half an hour. I said, it would have been nice if I would have known about this before I got here, right? But anyway, it's all good. So so my daughter, Stacy, I said, Stacy, I got a backup shirt out there in our Suburban. Go get it. So she gets the Suburban, brings it back, right? I get all fluffed up and all that stuff there to go on TV, right? So anyway, get it all ready for it. And when I'm sitting there, and there's Sergeant Slaughter. And they're speaking about class guy. There's a class guy. So anyway, we're sitting there, and Vince Russo, who's also a class guy, Vince Russo, he's awesome. He says to me, he says, Frank, look, make it medical, but not too medical. I said, okay. So, you know what? So whatever. So first try, whacked it, banged it out. He says, let it go. Whoo, boy. Okay, I was really happy about that, but he said, no, it was good. So you'll see me on Monday Night Raw with Slaughter that first night. That was in 97. That's how it was. But that was good. We have all good. So Pritchard and Vince Russo, whatever. Awesome then.
Beautiful. You got it on one take. One take, Jay.
One take. I was so happy about that. I was soaking wet. My back of my shirt, you know, whatever. It was all good. It's all good.
Frank, I got to tell one story about that.
Uh-huh.
Our old buddy Nikolai.
Absolutely.
When he went to the Hall of Fame, they were taping things the day before for the promos, right? Commercial, things like that. So they're trying to get him, and he can't. WWF. It's like, no, the director's like, WWE. I said,
that's right.
I said, let me help you a minute. He's like, who are you? I said, I'm his manager. I've been with him. I know what to do. Let me do this. He says, all right, we'll try it. So I said, Nikolai, watch me. I said, WWE 24/7. And then the guy was going to kiss me on the lip.
you know, I'll tell you something.
He was going to kiss me on the lip. The guy's, I can't believe it. I'm like,
absolutely.
Know who your talent is and how to work with them. That's it.
Absolutely. You know, Nikita, I'll tell you, you know, this was, and I'll tell you, Benny, you do too. Did you ever have Nikolai tell you a joke, Benny? Or
no, they never met.
The worst joke teller is him. No, he can't tell a joke to save his life. I mean, he got this really great joke, and you know where you heard it before, right? And he'll recite this joke. You know, he'll be like you're saying, like Nikita said, he'll practice it. You can see him trying hard, and then he'll deliver, and nobody laughs. It's the worst. You know, but I love the guy. We all love the guy. You know, so you avoid that.
There's a couple examples, but I can't give them because they're too dirty. But he was a great magician.
Oh yeah,
he was good with that shit.
Oh yeah,
especially not that just with the balls, because I always say to people, yeah, you know Nikolai, you ever see his balls? And they're like, what are you talking about? It's like, if you've never seen Nikolai's balls, you're full of shit.
That's right.
But the card trick, I don't get it. And he would shuffle the cards, Benny, and it'd be like, okay, you'll pick the card. You pick a card. put it back, and you do the whole thing. He's like,
Hold it,
"This your card?" And you say, "Nah." He's like, "I know. It could not be your card because your card is under that hat." And it was like, "I'll be a son of a bitch. The card's under the hat." And it would be different every time. Not the same card. I'm
But,
like,
yeah,
how the hell
but
did you do this?
no, he was that good on. He was a great magician. He was really that good on it. But Nikolai is, he's sorely missed. He was great.
Oh.
I'll tell you what. He was up. But I don't know if he ever told you the story. He was coming up with I forget who was with him at the time. He was stopping in from wherever, and he stopped in to say hi and all that stuff. And make a long story short is his car broke down.
Mm.
Did you ever hear that story? Well,
No,
anyway, what happened,
I
Benny,
don't
is
remember.
yeah. Well, what happened, Benny, is the fact that he came in there, whatever. Anyway, his carburetor was all messed up. He wasn't getting that right gas oxygen mixture. Okay, so anyway, he was going put put put, making that type of sound. Right? He could go, but he was put 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 like that. So anyway, he said to me, "What do I do?" I said, "Listen." I said, Nikolai, listen, let me make a phone call for you. I'll get somebody that if they can't do it, forget it. Get rid of the car. So I got a really good patient. I get, patient contacts here, there, and everywhere. So I get a hold of this one guy. I said, you like wrestling? He said, I love wrestling. So anyway, he says, I got a guy who needs a new carburetor. So the guy gets a new carburetor. He says, I'll get it for him right away. He says, where's this car? At my place. He comes over to my place, puts the darn carburetor in right here at my place for Nikolai, and off he went. And he didn't rip him off. It was like whatever he paid for, he charged him the same. And see, it's like it goes back to like that, the respect thing of how it is.
Yes, the circle of love.
That's
Now,
exactly
Benny,
what it is.
you heard Davey O'Hannon talk about when Nikolai had a brand new car and he had to get one like it. But then years later, Nikolai was the king of the $500 special when it came to cars. Believe
That's
me.
right. That's right. I heard that. Yeah,
It's like, Nikolai, how does this fucking thing even run? I don't get it.
but he got it to run. Nikita, he pulled it.
Yeah.
He made it happen. I don't know what he did. He probably put in some Croatian type gasoline potion or something. But
he pissed in the tank.
He would figure something out. Absolutely, I would not discard any. He's a very smart man, very intelligent man. Absolutely,
very economical, right?
Yeah, economical is a nice word, Benny. Beautiful.
That's right. Very economical. Very good, Benny. I agree with that. But that's how he was, and that's good. That's good to be that way. Nothing wrong with that. It's
Frank,
a good attribute.
We're going to let you go. We've held you long, and we loved every second of it.
Listen,
oh my God,
I think
this
that people have.
Oh wow! Holy crap!
Yeah.
We've been on for about an hour and a half.
Yes.
It's 6 o'clock now. Listen, I could talk all night with you guys. It's one of those type of scenes. You know what I mean, Benny?
I know.
Listen, I'll tell you what.
You got at least like 3 books worth of stories.
Oh, maybe 4 if you really
maybe more. Yeah.
Hey, does your audience have any questions or anything they want to ask or anything? Do we catch anybody?
No, we've been feeding it to you as we get them.
Good.
I got one more question, Frank.
Do it.
You remember Dick Worley?
Sure. Referee,
Did you see him box? Because I know he was doing the Golden Gloves for a while.
Dick Worley, I never saw him box, but I knew he boxed. I'd never seen they stand up there and exercise his abilities. I never saw him do that. But Dick Worley wouldn't surprise me because he was in good shape. Dick Worley was a very good shape. He's a good referee, and I met him, a bunch and this and that throughout the years. But he,
no, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Somebody said, "Can you keep it going?"
Sure, why not? We don't talk. Keep it going. Tell me, ask some questions. Go ahead.
Okay.
We
can go along. You good, Frank?
Nikita, put it out there, buddy. Go ahead.
All right. Beautiful. So, yeah, because, Dick was training Nikolai to box because back in 1978, he slimmed down to like 190, and it didn't look good. Or 290, not 190.
190. Oh, my God.
It was like, wow.
Yeah,
you could see, he lost some definition. But Dick Worley said he didn't have the killer instinct. It's like we talked about it once before, the Herman Munster episode.
Yeah, you see Herman in that wrestling, how he wrestled. He told the guy, "I gotta win. You gotta let me win, Herman." And he would. You know what I mean?
Don't repossess my sister's banjo. She'll get kicked out of the Boston Symphony.
Yeah, Herman the Great.
They're classics. YouTube them up. They're excellent to watch. Herman Munster.
He lost to Judo Gene LaBelle, didn't he? I think he had a different name, of course.
Oh, a bunch of guys.
A bunch of right. You're right, Benny. You're right, Nikita. Absolutely.
Genghis Cohen.
He was my neighbor at the last years of his life, but I never saw him. I never met him. He only lived like 10 miles away.
Who's that? Fred Gwynn?
Maryland. He was in Manchester, like around there. So, yep.
Oh, wow.
Everybody said he was a real nice guy. He didn't act like highfalutin or any of that. Real cool guy.
Well, you know, who is it? My cousin Vinny. You saw that movie. He played the judge in that. Fred Gwynn. Now there he
Yeah.
was like somewhat of a different character, but he was still, you know what I mean?
Oh, he's
But he-
great.
yeah, it was great though. But he did great with that. It was a great movie. My cousin Vinny was an excellent movie.
Yeah, Victoria hates Car 54, but I
There we
tried to
go.
get a copy of it, but the thing they sent me was shit. So I do watch it on YouTube.
Yeah,
You know,
right. Yeah, Fred Gwynn was in that too. Those guys were well, you know, Al Lewis. That's his partner. That was the other guy. Yeah, that was you know, they stuck together. They were good together all the way down the line. You know?
and Joe E. Ross with the ooh. It's like, she's not do that. I can't stand that. It's like, okay, it's funny though. It's funny, but
I listen. I agree with that totally, and all this and that. No, but it's like all good. Like, listen, wrestling. I mean, like I said before, I say it again. I've been with you know, I've done everybody. I've never done AEW. I've done WCW back in the day. I've did King of Ring of Honor. You know, I've done that. I've done, oh my God, ECW. I've done all them. In between the McMahon's thing, okay, and all that.
but Frank, you know, people get their clicks, so it's like whatever.
It's okay. No, I don't. You know, I'm cool with everything. You know what I mean? I never advanced myself in life by being despiteful of anybody.
Good
You know what I
question.
mean? Even as a kid growing up, I just did it myself. You know, prove yourself. Go out and do it. You'll advance yourself. Don't. But when you start to like look at somebody and begrudge them and say something negative and nasty, it doesn't advance your agenda. And unfortunately, that's a hard thing for a lot of people to do. They don't.
Well,
they
here's
don't-
a good question, but I already kind of know the answer, but I'll take it in a different direction. The guy's asking, good guy, Greg Berry, we like him. Did
Huh?
you ever advise somebody not to blade? Of course, you probably didn't know until it was going to happen, but
No.
did state athletic commissioners get pissed about it and make us think about
Well,
blading?
let me tell you. So when people intentionally cut themselves, okay, for whatever reason, see, for me, I'm going to be, and this might not sound right to you guys, but it's the truth. I have never witnessed that because my whole definition. Listen, I've sewed a lot of these guys up because you saw when they got hurt. Wow, they need stitches. Okay.
Yeah.
Because my attitude with it, and I think my attitude and my philosophy that if I'm the doctor that night with you guys, if you cut yourself, then you sew yourself up.
Oh, there you
And
go.
you would be surprised how well that sticks. Because I listen, you know, because I've sewed a lot of guys up. I've sewed a lot of them up, okay, throughout the years, okay? And
Sure.
but the thing I'm saying to you but the guys that are really on top of their games, they don't go to that level because they don't have to go to that level. You know what I mean? Why? Just like when you put a chair over somebody's head, why do you got to do that? You don't got to do that. It gets you nowhere except, all you got to do is break a blood vessel in your brain. Guess what? Now you either had a stroke or you're dead. And most of the times you hope you die because
That's it.
it's no fun to lay in a damn bed all the time and have somebody wipe your butt and
No.
put a straw in your mouth and feed you.
No.
Is that life? Well, that's very
No.
hard. You can argue all you want with that. But my point of it is, if it was me, that to me would not be life at all.
No.
So
And
in
I
other
got the
words,
papers to
yeah.
say if I
Yeah.
ain't breathing, pull the
That's
plug.
right.
I'm done.
Exactly. So in
Yeah.
other words, that's why I'm
Yeah.
a strong advocate of head shots and neck shots being no-nos. Because I've already told that. Now, the one question people say to me, would you ever stop an event? I have done that twice. Okay. Yeah, I did. I've had 2 matches, both independents, okay, where the people, you know, they look at me, well, what are you going to do? And I said, listen, if there's any head or any chair shots or anything that's not appropriate, even if those chairs are laid in the ring and you put their head in between the actual seat and the back of the chair and you do any type of maneuver on that, I will personally stop that match. And I did it twice. So I'll walk up to the ring and I'll look at the referee and I said, it's over, cut it. And I'll really be boisterous about it so the fans hear me. Match is done. End it. Take it home. It's over. And you know what? Period. And the fans will look at you. And I said, listen, when these guys come, they come healthy and they leave healthy. I tell that to everybody. You came here healthy. You got families. You're going to go home healthy. Period. End discussion. There's no other way to say it. I said,
And you are a member of the State Athletic Commission, so you have that responsibility.
Well, see, I'm the longest acting member of the state of Pennsylvania. Okay, the longest acting right now is me. Okay, and so when I sign something off, they never question me at all. Okay, I've had a good reputation with the state. Okay, for many, many years. Okay, that's how it is. Okay, I've been here 41 years, and I've been with the State Athletic Commission for, well, the first time we did an amateur boxing show was in '87. So I've been there with them since '87. So I'm going on what, 38, whatever,
30 years, yeah.
something like that. So I'm the longest acting athletic commission doctor right now for the state of Pennsylvania. So when they see my name and signature, they know it's the real McCoy. In other words, when I'm there, they don't send anybody out from the state because they know I'm there. But I tell you guys, they know philosophy. Listen, you came here healthy, you're going home healthy. You'll have families. You have all things going on besides wrestling. I said that's how you have to look at it, really, and that's how you have to be straight with that.
And people don't realize it's that's how you make a living as a wrestler. So you're right. If you're not going to work tomorrow, what the hell's the sense of what you're doing tonight?
Exactly. And a lot of guys, that's how it is, because I get guys that they'll break bones, they'll do all that stuff, and they'll go through that. Okay. And you do get your traumatic stuff. I had a guy who was doing a particular ring maneuver, okay, who's a seasoned veteran, okay, but he did this one ring maneuver, okay, on the bottom rope. And what he did is he got his neck in a certain position where he moved it a certain way, and he couldn't get out of the ring. Well, anyway, the guy, you know how the wrestler talk is. They'll say, "Oh, I was, they asked me to come there, and I came there right away. The guy's in the ring. I'm right there with him, and I'm looking at the guy. He says to me, "So, I just bruised my neck." I said, "Okay, fine. Huh? Well, can you move your hand?" "No, I can't move my fingers." So I'm looking at the guy, and I'm talking to him like whatever. And I said to him, I said, "Listen, you have about 1 minute to move your fingers, or else you go in the hospital, get a CAT scan of your neck." "Oh, I need some leave. I need some that." That's wrestler talk. You see, you got to know your people. That's why I said before. That's why I always like to know these people before they wrestle, because I like to see where their heads are at. Okay, so when you judge them by where their heads are at, you're going to tell them just how they are mentally. Okay, so the bottom line of it is this. So anyway, make a long story short, I gave the guy 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. He's laying down, he can't move his hands. So anyway, his girlfriend was right there, and she says, "I know right where this hospital." I said, "He's got to go to the hospital." I say, "Probably, bro." So I immobilized the neck, the whole 9 yards. And I said, he knew the hospital was right down the road, ironically to say. So they said, "No, you want, no." And I knew the people. They said, "We'll go to the hospital right now." They did. Broken neck. Okay. Lower levels. Got operated on 2 days later. See what I mean? But if I was today, I'd go home, take Advil or leave. We'd just put ice on it. And, you know what I mean? They've been dead. Or practically they've been paralyzed. See what I mean? So you always got to go with your gut. And I'm an ER guy by design. So I always go by my gut. In other words, when I look at something, when I walk in to see a patient in my office for the first time, I'll let him talk, but then I know within 2 seconds I know where I'm going with that patient. I can vibe where I'm going with them. You know what I mean? What's got to be done. But that's well, I've been around the block a few times. I should have that ability. But that's the ability you have to have. But this guy here, and anyway, so that's a good story. So when stuff happens, listen, people say to me, "Well, see, the biggest question is that people say to me, did you ever see any wrestler ever take steroids?" I said, "No, I never did." I said, I don't do any of the drug testing. I don't do any of the piss testing. I do none of that stuff. I'm 100% against that stuff. Okay. Number one. Sure. Anything like that. Who isn't? You'd be a fool to whatever. Okay. So people ask me that too. And people say to me, "Well, I said, well, you check them out like you guys said." "Yeah, absolutely, check them out. Make sure everybody's good." But you talk to people and you got to put their heads in reality, because a lot of times they're flying. "Well, I'm going to be with, I'm going to be on TV tomorrow" type attitude. It doesn't work that way. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, Frank. I mean, of course, me being with Nikolai, nothing. Right. They're going to be. He didn't need steroids.
He didn't need any of that stuff. The guys, and listen, and the guys, listen. You don't need that stuff. And I said that before. The guys were supplements. The big thing. These guys take the creatine now. They do all that. You don't need that stuff. You don't need it.
The old days, it was eat and work out.
That's what they do. You know what I mean? I had 2 kids. I had 2 patients of mine, both about 20, 21 at the time, who were like, built like brick shit house type king. And they were, "Oh man, we're doing this and do that. We take a ton of creatine." I said, "Stop it." So one day they both wound up eventually in kidney failure. They wound up on dialysis for one day.
Hey.
Yeah, that'll set you straight. The functionality of it. It's one of those deals. So that's why I say whatever. Hey, I'll tell you what. Do you have any more questions, or anybody asking anything, or what they got?
We're going to wrap it up, Frank.
Okay, listen, that's good. What was it says?
Right, what's Jane say? Have you seen progress Lex Luger is making to walk again? If so, have you seen that?
listen, Larry Fall, who was AKA Lex Luger. I knew him WWF days. I knew him. I always, I knew him. I always got along with him. He was like, "Hey, how you doing? Nice to see you." All that type of talk. Okay, but he's in a wheelchair. Okay, he's in the wheelchair. They're trying some stuff from. I haven't seen him or talked to him in a long time. Okay, but what's going on with him now? I only wish him the best. I mean, he was a big icon back in the day. I mean, an icon of icons. Have I seen where's he at right now as far as 2025 goes? I don't know. You hear reports, you see stuff on YouTube, you see this, you see that. But he's a determined fella. So I wouldn't put anything by the guy. I mean, where there's a will, there's a way with him. That's how he was back in the day. And I just wish him the best and hope him the best. And and a lot of these guys back in the Attitude Era, I still talk to. They'll call me up and they'll ask me for advice, or like, what do you think? Do I need to get an X-ray of this, or you know what I mean? And they'll call me up a lot of times. They will, and they're just like the three of us, normal people. They're good folks and all that. But anyway, Lex Luger, okay, he's back in the day. I mean, he was, hey, he was something else. You know what I mean? But he's had his ups and downs. He's had his controversies, but he's survived them and he's kept on going positive and whatever. Okay, and that's this and that. But down the line, if you guys want to do some down the line with the outfits, whatever, you're welcome.
Yes.
I don't. Does your audience
make an East Coast trip, Frank? Without a doubt.
We'd love to have you guys. You know what I mean, Benny?
Absolutely. I'll take you up on that.
Absolutely.
And we're going to let you go, Frank. We thank you. I mean, this was wonderful.
Oh, yeah, I hope. Listen, I hope you guys. It was a pleasure to talk to both you guys, and I hope all the people out there listening and watching have the same type of thing. They're all over. Okay, but it's all good.
Frank, this will be on YouTube. You can watch it anytime you want. It's archived. It's
whatever.
It'll be on iHeartRadio, Spotify, all different audio platforms, on the radio, everywhere.
Listen, my kid does all that stuff, all that there, Benny. You know how that goes.
I'll let Stacey know.
Let Stacey know. No, but you guys are both welcome. But if you want to do a podcast or an event like we're doing tonight, we have outfits. We have all the belts. We have outfits, guys down there, and we'll give you the whole story on whatever you need to know. How's that sound?
That sounds like a deal, Frank, without a doubt.
Have an invite. Hey, guys, it's a pleasure. Thank you guys for being great hosts.
Just hit that red button and you're done.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you guys.
We have to wrap it up with the poem there, though. I wrote a poem for Dr. Frank.
Okay, listen to the poem, Frank.
I want to hear it. Go ahead.
And then we can leave. It'll be the last thing we say.
That's okay.
We've been graced by the company of Dr. Frank. Man, this guy has money in the bank. If you're ill, he'll make you heal. And he loves those days when it was real.
Absolutely. And you know what, Ben? I love your poem, brother. I'll tell you, but we still try here in Bronzeville, PA, we still try to keep those poems the same. Keep that poem apropos. Keep it real. And you know what? That's where it's going, my brother. Absolutely. Hey, you guys, it's been a pleasure. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks, guys.
Nice,
Stay healthy.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye now. Yep, you're welcome. Hey, stay.